Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Nacho Problems, where we turn ordinary recipes into extraordinary nachos. I'm Nacho Queen, but you can call me M. We're going to be finishing off our first African adventure by trying out a cuisine known for using a huge variety of spices. So get ready to empty your spice cupboard because this week we're making Doro Wat Nachos. Doro Wat is a spicy chicken stew from Ethiopia and Eritrea. It's typically served with a fermented flatbread called injera. Now, I have had to make quite a few adjustments and substitutions to this recipe because sadly there were some ingredients I just couldn't find and I needed to suit the tastes of 5 people. So I hope the good people of Ethiopia will forgive me, but I did my best. And that's all any of us can offer. Let's get started. Step 1, the chips. I'm going to be honest, we're cheating a lot on the chips. I couldn't find injera pre-made that I could turn into chips, and because it's a fermented bread similar to sourdough, it takes 4 to 5 days to make. So I found these lovely injera chips, and we're just going to use them. They came in a variety of flavors, but I chose these as the only non-spicy flavor that was also savory. I will warn you, the garlic flavor is very strong. But that's our chips. Let's skip ahead to Step 2, the cheese and toppings. Our Doro Wat will be the cheese, and our eggs are the toppings. Since they're cooked together, we're going to be combining these steps for this episode. For all of this, we need 4 to 6 chicken thighs, some lemon juice, 2 tablespoons clarified butter. This should really be Nieder Kibbeh, which is a spiced clarified butter, but I couldn't find it, so I've opted to use the ghee that I already had instead. 2 tablespoons olive oil, 1 medium onion, chopped, 3 tablespoons butter, divided, 1 tablespoon garlic, 1 teaspoon ginger, 1.5 teaspoons salt, 1 cup chicken stock, half a cup of white wine. This should really be tej, which is an Ethiopian honey wine, but if you can't find it, substitute plain white wine and a teaspoon of honey. I'm using some of Cameraman's homemade mead, 2 hard-boiled eggs, and I also used about 2 teaspoons of cornstarch mixed with about a 1/4 cup of cold water to thicken my sauce, but this is optional. Now, before you start complaining, I thought you said it had a bunch of spices. Our final ingredient is a spice blend called barbre, or maybe it's berbere or berbere. I honestly looked it up and everyone said it differently, but this is one I actually could have bought. However, it is very spicy, and in order for me and Youngson to be able to eat tonight, I'm going to mix up my own, omitting the hot ingredients, and we'll let the others just add them to their dishes. So for this we need a 1/4 teaspoon ground coriander, a 1/4 teaspoon cumin, a 1/4 teaspoon ground fenugreek, a 1/4 teaspoon black pepper, 1/8 of a teaspoon allspice, a 1/4 teaspoon cardamom, a 1/4 teaspoon clove, 1 tablespoon paprika, a 1/4 teaspoon salt, 1/8 of a teaspoon nutmeg, a 1/4 of a teaspoon ginger, a 1/4 of a teaspoon cinnamon, a 1/4 of a teaspoon turmeric, and finally, the recipe calls for 3 to 4 dried red chilies. I have substituted a 1/4 teaspoon of chili powder, and then separately the guys will be trying out this Kashmiri chili powder that I got for another recipe. I've been told it's not that hot, but I was told that by a friend whose idea of hot is wildly different from my own. So we'll see how it goes. We're going to start by placing our chicken in a large bowl and coating it well with lemon juice. Give it a good toss and then set aside for at least 30 minutes. Heat the clarified butter and olive oil in a large stock pot or Dutch oven over low heat. I've got my stove set to the lowest it goes. Add in your onions. Cover and cook them for 45 minutes, stirring regularly. Now remove the lid, add in 1 tablespoon butter, the garlic, and the ginger. Stir well, then cover again and cook for another 15 minutes. Now we need to add in the other 2 tablespoons of butter and our barbre. Once again, stir well, cover, and this time we're going to cook it for 30 more minutes. Remember, our heat is still on low. Okay, it's finally time to add the chicken. Now, I probably don't have to say this, but just in case you're new to cooking and no one's told you yet, always wash your hands after touching raw chicken, before touching anything else. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Go directly to the sink and use soap and hot water. Okay, now we can add in our wine, salt, and chicken stock. Raise the heat to high and bring it to a boil. Then cover it again, drop the heat back down to low, and we're going to simmer it for 30 minutes. Now, before we toss our hard-boiled eggs in, we need to poke them all over with a fork. This should allow the broth of the Doro Wat to sink in. Now just recover and cook for our final 15 minutes. Next, we're going to remove our chicken and eggs from the broth. Mix in the cornstarch and water, bring it to a boil, and cook for 2 to 3 minutes or until thickened. Okay, I think that does it. Let's move on to Step 3. Let's eat. Let's start with some of the injera chips. Then add some of our chicken, which I've removed from the bone and shredded slightly. Next, we'll add some of our egg, which didn't absorb as much of that wonderful flavor and color as I'd hoped, so maybe more stabbing next time. Now a good drizzle of the sauce. And finally a sprinkle of the chili powder for color and hopefully a little heat. Cameraman is up for taste testing today, and it seems I didn't notice what his shirt said until editing. But overall, he enjoyed them. The injera chips had a slight tangy taste that you would expect from a fermented bread. Maybe one of these days I'll try it from scratch. He also agrees with my friend that the chili powder doesn't bring a lot of heat, but it did add some. Jimmy Buffett said it needed a lot more heat, but honestly he usually says that. Well, that's all for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, give it a like and please consider subscribing if you want to see more nacho videos. If you have an idea for a future video, you can leave a comment below or tag me on the site previously known as Twitter. I'm at NachoProblemsYT. I've also linked my Blue Sky below, but you won't find me on Facebook, Instagram, or Threads. If you're looking to steal my apron, well, that's nacho merch, but you can get your own at a link in the description. Now, I've got to go finish some voodoo dolls I've been making, but unless you're one of my professors, that's not your problem. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.